very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us once again. This is Man Up. My name is James Okumu. Thank you for your time. This is the show for men where we sit down and have discussions about issues that affect men in today's society. Today we have an interesting conversation. We are talking about leaving the nest. And I'm just wondering, as parents in this generation, are we too possessive of our children? Are we overbearing in that we are not giving them space to grow, to become, to start making their own decisions, to start crafting their own path where their life is concerned? That's what we want to find out, especially from a father's perspective. I've got two gentlemen joining me on the show tonight. First and foremost, we have got Chris Gweth. Chris is an experienced and licensed counseling psychologist with lots of experience working with adolescents and families and groups. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
You're the right person for us to talk to. Your experience, we want to put it to use today.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. We also have life coach, corporate trainer, and author, Joel Kobia. Joel, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Karibu sana.
Shukran.
Awesome. I was wondering and thinking, as I was thinking about this topic, as we just dive straight into it, when I think back in the day, you know, especially now focusing on the young man, because we are men, and this is a show about men.
Yeah.
So the young man got to a certain age, they went through the rites of passage, and then the mzee told him, my friend, two lions cannot stay in the same den. Naona pale, uweke kasimba kako hapo. You know, and it was initiating them into a new phase of life where they had their own space and they begin to make their own decisions. I'm just wondering why that doesn't happen today, or is it because of the way of life we live today?
Well, thank you. If I may start, I think part of it is way of life. I think a lot of things have changed over the years. And the way you began talking, you said, Mzee used to say, now it's time to have you move a little bit there.
Yes.
I think part of the challenges we're experiencing now, part of the changes we've experienced is in the fatherhood in itself, where fathers either are not there. There could be fatherlessness, and it takes a father oftentimes to be able to redirect such kind of conversation. And in other aspects, fathers are there, but they're not mental, they're not guiding these people. And other things also that come into play, also things to do with the economy, things changing and making it so difficult for these young ones to be confident to move out. Yeah, so there could be a lot of reasons or issues, up to including just the dynamics of the family itself. Could be that.
I'm just wondering, Joel, are we very possessive as parents today, especially the fathers? Tutaki kuachilia watoto.
I would say maybe the mothers are more possessive to the sons. Yeah?
Oh, to the sons?
Yeah, to the sons. I think the mothers
What
are more
about the
possessive.
fathers to the daughters?
Yeah, the fathers are also very possessive to the daughters.
Okay.
Yeah. And we do this on account of forgetting that transition is a process, but not an activity. It's a video and not a snapshot. Yeah. It's something that takes place over time.
Yeah.
But the mistakes that most of us do is that we don't keep engaging our children on a continuous basis. And we really expect that a month before they leave, you're now sitting with them and just drop the bombshell and tell them next week, this and that is what I expect of you. But I want to believe some of these conversations, we can start them as early as even 10 years old.
10?
Yeah, as early as 10 years old, whereby you are telling this person, what would you like to be when you grow up? The person says, I would like to be a doctor. Okay, now when you'll be a doctor, would you like to be living in your mother's house or you'd like to be living in your own house? Of course, they'll say in their own house. Then one thing leads to the other. What about, have you ever heard about a boarding school? Then the person says, no, I've never heard. What is it all about? This is a school that someone goes when they get to high school, and of course you board there. Boarding means this and that. And in preparation to going to boarding school, we want you to start cleaning your socks. We want you to start cleaning your handkerchief.
So teaching them responsibility.
This is what happens.
At their level.
So by the time they are around 10, that's grade 5, they are about, I'm preparing them for boarding. By the time they get to boarding, I start preparing them for university. While they're still in university, start preparing them for the life post-university, which is moving out and starting a family, all those kind of things. But you can't call a university person and start talking to them about marriage. It might be a bit too late, because those are some of the things that they're indulging in at the age of 12, 13, 14.
Yeah.
So it's good for us to really expose them. Lao Tzu reminds us that we need to do the great things while they are still small, and the difficult things while they are still easy. Bending a tree when it's old or when it's grown up becomes very hard. Yeah, itavunjika. Yeah. So why not start shaping them as early as possible?
I like what Joel is saying. And when he's speaking, the one word that comes up is vision.
Yeah.
You know, as a father, if I have a vision for my children, then I'll know how to direct them. I'm not just waiting for life to happen. You know, I'm already directing them in the way that they should go, you know, and setting them up to succeed because of what I have seen. And I'm just curious, do we as fathers even have a vision for our children? Ama tunangojea tu one day pengine atapata kazi, or one day maybe this will happen.
Yeah, actually, I think that could be part of the challenges. I think it begins from that point, because as a father, once you have your children and they're born, as Joel is saying, from that moment, you've already begun to plan for their future. But I think there are moments when fathers either lose the vision or lose the focus that they want the kids to go into. And like I was saying earlier, I think a lot of time is just not being able to understand or to know your children, or to know what they are becoming, or what they're interested in, or what their future will be like. So without that, then it's so difficult to even be able to start giving guidance. And then you get to realize so late, when now you can't really be able to bring about change that you want to bring. Yeah, and part of the things we've seen over time is, you know, earlier on, it was easier to direct and to guide, because there were very procedural steps, especially when it comes to boys. And like men work with step, including rite of passage, and then from there now you're being prepared intentionally for adulthood and for husbandry, or if you might call it that way, being a husband, and for fatherhood.
Husbandry is something else, eh?
Sounds good.
So, without those kind of posts that men are helped to go through one after the other, then it becomes difficult to eventually just come all of a sudden and now begin to want to mold them all of a sudden.
I'm very curious about your journey and about your journey. Personally, I moved out of home when I was 24. And the reason I moved out of home is because, okay, my dad didn't tell me I need to move out. My mom still wanted to hold on to me. But I was at a place in my life where I knew I want to get married. And the girl was already there. Mi ndio nilikuwa nimeweka jam. And so I told myself, there's no way I'll get married and I'm moving out of my father's house straight into my house. No, I want to live alone for 1 year. That was my prayer to God. I want to move out and live alone for 1 year. Nichomeke na ugali, kasufuria, nijue kupika chai. If I sustain myself for a year, I'll know if I bring this girl and I marry her, we'll be able to, you know, work things out. So that's how I moved out of the nest. I'm just curious for the two of you. Ulishikiwa kiboko ukaambiwa
out.
How did you get into that space?
For me, it happened in a very unique way, and it happened while I was still in campus, Nairobi University. I was still doing my BCom finance that time. And I was approached by my parents, and they told me that it's good for me to really think of how to live a balanced life, and it's good for me to try out life out there. And of course, I felt I was not ready. But when I really meditated on these words that they gave me, I just woke up one day, went to some place in Buruburu, looked for a 1 cubicle house. It's like 2 meters by 4 meters, something of the sort. And I took the box which I had in high school, Mangu High School, like a box that I used to put my clothes. I packed all my clothes, didn't pick their cup, didn't pick their plate or spoon.
Nothing.
Called a certain uncle, gave me a lift, and I started my life afresh. I kept off my parents for almost 2-3 months. They didn't know where I went. I just wanted to meditate and start afresh without any kind of clutter in my mind. So started afresh. After 3 months, that's when I looked for my dad and told him, hey, Dad, come see where I am. He came with my small bro, but it was hard for the two of them to get to my house at the same time. So one had to leave or appended juu ya kitanda so that
That's
the
how
other
big
person
the
can
house
come
was.
in. Yeah. Yeah, okay, it was not a very good starting because the washroom that I used to use as a bathroom was also a public toilet, public bathroom. And there were several rats that could come to my cubicle and do bad things there.
Wow.
But by God's grace, after around 1 year, I got some job somewhere, continued juggling between career and work, and I got a stable footing.
Okay.
It was not an easy one, I would say.
Very interesting. What about you?
Well, yeah, mine also happened when I was at the university. I think for me, I went to live in campus. I was a day student, so I went to Athi River.
Athi River, yeah.
And then I took an evening class, so I could come over in the evening to Nairobi. And then I met these people who were already in the job market. And one gentleman challenged me and told me, you know, you were there and, you know, you're in second year. By the time you leave and come back, you'll find things have really moved. So how about if you just switch completely and come here and then begin to engage a little bit with corporates, internship and all. So that's how I decided to come. I switched campuses and then I had to now look for a house and stayed. And even after finishing campus, I was asked to go back home. But the kind of freedom I had experienced and the kind of you know, feeling self-reliant, because being here I had to get jobs and try to see how to survive and pay the rent and all that. So I decided to continue, despite the pressure to go back and stay home a little bit as I got the job. So that's how I actually ended up moving out.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, just comparing our three stories, and maybe this is something, I don't know whether, I think it's a coin that has two sides. You know, because I'm sure all the three of us can say it may not have been a smooth beginning, but it taught us some valuable lessons. It made us more responsible.
True.
You know, and so there's that push. Let them go so that they can learn. While I'm still here able to help, let him go. He will make mistakes, fine. He may sleep hungry a couple of nights, fine. But that's how you learn life and that's how you... But then there's the other side where I'm thinking, just because I began my life in a Mabati house, Joel, does it mean even my son has to begin there? Why can't I set him up to begin better? So there are these two sides, and sometimes it's a conflict. I'm just wondering, how do you handle that?
They tell us that if we can't do what we will, then we will what we do, what we can do. Yeah. If you can't do what you will, then will what you can do. Because where there is a will, there is a way. So it all starts with. There's one question that you asked my colleague Chris. About fathers not having a vision for their children. But I was also about to intercept and ask, do these fathers in the first place have a vision for themselves? Do they have vision for their own lives? Do they know exactly what they want out of life? So one of the things that we need to stop doing as fathers or discourage is the dependency mentality, whereby minus dad, minus mom, I'm doomed. And so it's good for us to start shaping them as early as when they are young. When you talk about personal financial management, we say that it's not good for us to start training our kids on finances when they're in university or when they're in high school. It's good to start shaping them as early as they can count those monies, so that they're able to tell the value of a shilling, the value of a 50 shillings, the value of 1,000. What can 1,000 do? What can 500,000 do? Such kind of things. So the moment we've trained them, then at the age of 20 or whatever, we shall be ready to hand them over to the world. And we shall be very, very confident, because we are not just starting today. This is something that we've been observing over a long, long period of time.
You're watching Man Up. Tonight we're talking about leaving the nest. Question for you, at what age did you leave the nest? If you left the nest, I'm assuming you've left the nest. At what age did you move out? For this reason, shall a man leave his father and mother? Let's not get to the other part. Before you were joined, as a man, specifically talking to the men, at what age did you leave? Taking a short break, we'll be back shortly.
Tomorrow on The Corner.
When you meet your friends, the first question they'll ask is, how's your wife doing? Not how are you doing?
Okay. When we got home, I just wanted to be alone. Like just curtains drawn and just sit alone.
Is there a period for grieving?
There is no prescribed time or justification for you to start grief. It's when it hits you, it comes, and that's the right time to grieve.
Don't miss out on The Corner tomorrow at 8:30 p.m.
Welcome back to Man Up. Tonight we are talking about leaving the nest. And the question I'm asking you is, at what age or within what circumstances did you leave the nest and begin living life on your own? So, gentlemen, Christians, maybe it's a wrong observation, but I've seen it quite a bit. As Christians, sometimes we tend to shield our children too much because there's a bad devil out there, and so we want to do everything for them, we want to shield them, we want to scrutinize everything they do. I keep wondering, is that helping the children, or is it setting them up to fail?
Well, I actually think it could go either way. I think the wisdom lies in the balance.
Okay.
Because it's true that as parents, we're supposed to be so involved in our children's lives to the point of even knowing who their friends are, to the extent of interacting with the parents or the friends, and even the friends themselves, just to help see or prevent some ideas or values that could be brought home. And also, it's also good to encourage kids to be able to experience or explore other things in the world. So I think Christian parents are rightfully scared. But I think what is needed to be understood is that when they are able to be to get exposed early enough, then they get to learn to manage a few things, even the different ideas that are there, the different value systems that are there. They get to understand them and know how to defend them against what they've learned through their parents. So in as much as we allow them freedom to explore, we should also be there and be involved. Of course, not choking them, but from a distance, just understanding how they're learning and what they're doing. So let's expose them without letting them be on their own as Christian parents. And I think when it comes to now the exact point of leaving the nest, I think us, Joel and I, and maybe you, we left it earlier because of how things were even during our time. I think this time also there's a psychological delay in maturation that is also beginning to develop, where you find that earlier on you could get to adolescent, and then after that you become a young adult. Now you are able to take up responsibilities as an adult. Now we're having something called emerging adulthood, where we have an extended period of self-search, identity search, and just thinking of possibilities. Young people are just in a world of not really grasping what their life is about. So I think that extended period that even sometimes goes to 29 could be part of the things that are either causing this delay and also are being caused by the delay, maybe from the grip by the parents.
I've seen situations where you have parents that, are well-to-do off, but they want their children to begin from ground zero like they began. And so I'm well-to-do off, but I'm not going to help you with anything. In fact, I throw you into the deep end. Ujue maisha is so that you grow up not being entitled. Do you know these things people have to search for them? I'm just wondering, what kind of effect does that have on the children?
Sometimes we are setting up these children for failure because mentorship demands that you're there. Mentorship is more or less telling them, I've walked the path, and these are the footsteps. They tell us that success leaves footprints wherever it has been. And how many times do we sit with these children and narrate to them some of the pitfalls that we went through in life, some of the mistakes that we did in life? Maybe this child was born out of wedlock, and you picked so many lessons from that pitfall. But are you able to sit with that son and tell them, son, this is exactly what happened. We want to look like Holy Joes out there, perfect.
We want to change the wedding date.
And of course, and to make sure the kid is not there, and how come in your wedding, such kind of thing. And when we don't offer this mentorship and we are not real to these children, what happens in essence, we've made all these monies, we've not worked with them in terms of helping them understand how we got these monies. And the moment we leave them out of the equation and we don't mentor them, we don't guide them, eventually we shall be expecting that they're going to be like me. But who is me? Have I showed them who I was or who I am? I like what the Hindus do. They get a small patel and they take the patel to the shop and they show the small patel exactly what to do.
Yes.
And the small patel makes a lot of mistakes here and there, pours water on laptop, and they come to learn that water and laptop not good friends, such kind of thing, yeah. And they know what is to sell, what is to count the money, what is to all these kind of
Very
things.
true.
Yeah. So by the time young patel is around 5, 10, 6, 12 years old, they can be able to manage those businesses. What about us? Yeah, how many times do you bring your son or your daughter to the place where you work? How many times do you sit them and allow them to know how your day was? You just ask them, how was your day? You expect them to say, fine. But do you also tell them how yours
your
was?
day was.
Yeah. So the moment I tell them today A, B, C, D, E, F, G happened, and these are the mistakes that I did, then of course they're going to pick some few lessons. Sometimes I go out there for trainings and consultancy, and I'm paid some good money, 150,000, whatever. Sometimes I put it there and tell my children, okay, this is what I got today from what I do. So kindly help me count. Yeah, and what do you think we can do about this? What kind of advice would you give me about this? So they know that when dad spends 2 hours locking himself somewhere or he works an extra hour, then there's something good that is going to come. So when I teach them about sacrifice, sleeping an hour later or waking up an hour later, they're able to understand, they're able to comprehend. So it's not just about pointing to them the direction, but showing them. Then the last one is that the moment we accumulate all this success and we leave them out of the equation, they will curse us. These are the children who wish that the parents died, so that they can become the inheritance of all these other of all these other things. So as opposed to us leaving them out of that, they're going to, in order for them to have grudges against us, why not create time so that we can walk them through the success journey?
Well, you see that, and it's just the other day we were having a conversation, you know, and just talking about where we grew up. If you ever go back visiting, do you meet some people there? And you know, the conversation got interesting because one of my friends was telling me there's a group of young, especially young men, who don't want to move out of home. They're waiting for their parents either to retire and go back to Geshagi or die. You know, and I'm thinking as a parent, by the time you have a 30-year-old in the house, they're not doing anything with their lives, and they're still there. Are you part of the problem as a parent? You think the parent is part of the problem?
I think the parent is part of the problem. Because I think in the relationship, in the dynamics of the relationships, I think sometimes when kids come, they ease the tension that could have been there if it was just the two. And I think over time, parents tend to, mother and father, in the instance that they're still there, all of them, tend to, in a way, not relate interpersonally. And they tend to, in a way, even forget how to relate interpersonally. So the prospect of the person or the people who are easing this tension is leaving. Then it brings in a different view, like how will life be? They can't figure out living again, the two of them together. So that could be part of the reasons why they, in a way, they discourage it until it's too late. Sometimes it's because of maybe the father is not there or the mother is not there, so the need for support and for companionship and all. But oftentimes I think parents have a part to play in kids' delay to leave home.
Sometimes you just have to give them tough love. I don't know whether I'm too old-fashioned.
I know.
Sometimes I just think you just have to, like, you know, just kick them out. So that they can, shock therapy. Something like shock therapy. You answer kushika laini wakuwe responsible, especially if it's a young man, because I mean, how will they survive if I am not in the picture? Supposing I'm not in the picture and they even have this house, do they have the skills and the kind of you know, mindset to be able even to maintain it? Because if I've been doing everything for them, see what watauza. Is there an age, as we finish, because my producer is beginning to show me signs and wonders, is there an age you think by this age, especially for a young man, I
want to believe by Form 3.
Form 3?
Yeah, by Form 3. And on most occasions, we are advocates of boarding school for high school. You don't allow your child to be in in day school. For me, I don't believe in that, because when you set them apart for those 4 years, there's a lot that they learn in terms of interacting with others. Your sabuni, you have to use it. Yeah, all those other kind of things. Yeah. So the moment they're able to be given such kind of good mentorship, by the time they're thinking of university, the moment the kid has left high school, it's like they're on their own, in essence. Because by that time, they'll be above the age of 22, yeah? So they can start family. At that time, they can also start their own businesses. There's so much that can be done as you do campus. When in campus, we used to do a lot. We used to earn a lot of money. I would say in campus, I was earning around 30, 40,000 shillings.
Wow.
Yeah, doing my own things.
Yes.
Yeah. So if we taught them to be as responsible as that from that very tender age, within 4 years after leaving campus,
jamaa amechomoka.
atakuwa ameshachomoka na akaanzia their own family. Yeah, but the moment we keep holding to them and being afraid that they're going to make mistakes, they tell us that to teach is to learn twice. Yeah. So the moment we teach them and give them guidance, it's also helping us to understand ourselves more and even help them also so that they can pass it on to other individuals out there.
Hata wewe unasema form 3?
Well, yeah, you know, the actual moving out might come later, but I think the process should begin quite early. Actually, including what you mentioned, just financial knowledge and then financial responsibility should begin really early, including how to look for money. I think we did this in campus. When we were so out there trying to do a few businesses here and there, trying to get attached to some company, you know, learn a few things, get some money. I think if we're able to train that early, then when the time comes after graduating out, then it's easy for them to transition.
From the net.
From the nest.
From the nest. You know, sometimes I find that this whole thing progresses even into life. I've seen it sometimes where you're under somebody, they don't want to give you space to grow, to become. You get. I've seen it even in churches where you raise up sons and there's now a place where they need to move out and now begin doing something, but you still want to hold on to them. You still want to baby them. I know that's another topic. And our time is up. Maybe we will call you back and get into that. You know, now even where leadership is concerned and raising up successors to take after you. Because I think it begins from uko chini vile umesema. You know, so we will make a date.
For sure.
Umesikia ni form 3. Si mimi nimesema, ni jamaa. You are form 3 and you haven't started preparing them to live on their own. Hey, Mr. Man, you're failing them. My kids are watching this show. So, let's begin these conversations early. I love the wisdom of these two gentlemen. Let's begin preparing our children early. And also, let's have a bit more faith in what we have instilled in them. Because at a point, you have to let them now make their own decisions, become their own man or their own woman. My time is up. Until next week, thank you for watching and God bless you.
Fresh, insightful, and in-depth stories from current affairs, opinion, inspiration, lifestyle, church-related articles, and so much more on www.familynews.today. Insights at your fingertips.